including with our
if
office.
that's the question.
If possible, so, yeah. So keep asking everybody to see. You know anything, let me know.
So she's walking.
What did she do?
She's walking from
Because
the city
I want to
chamber
retire. I can't afford to retire.
to a ribbon
I got
cutting event.
part-time more than you.
Steps out on the cobblestone in high heels and turns her heel. Breaks her foot.
Oh my God. How about I stepped on a,
Chapstick.
I lost my job.
Remind you to put yours on too.
Things happen, like the retirement plan.
He was looking for it.
Lined up, do a lot of walking around. We should really go to the mall.
Been back here in the shop
For both
12 years.
because I know you have 200 there in the basement, but then more. So it's a little bit of rub.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the May 6th or May 7th? It's one of those days.
7.
Public Service Commission meeting. First of all, I'd like to congratulate LS Power and Silver Run Electric for the groundbreaking just east of Middletown the other day, on the Artificial Island project. And that was a very smooth, I was not able to make it, I was babysitting, but we had, Matt Hardigan was there, and John Farber, and, gosh, who else made it, Matt? Samantha was there, Bob Howard. So it was a nice turnout, and hopefully FERC will be run as efficiently as possible, and they'll come out with a final decision on that at some point in time in the immediate future. Also, congratulations to Raj Barilla. He's been named the co-chair of the NARUC Executive Management Staff Subcommittee. And he's replacing Jan Freeman, who's retiring June the 1st. And so best wishes on that project. And anybody else have anything announcements or anything? Okay, well, Kevin, I thought we were Kevin's gonna be around to June the 1st. We're gonna let him, Kevin Nielsen, who's been a stalwart of the Public Service Commission for 30 years? 25 years, close enough, has announced his retirement. Well, we're gonna celebrate that, not today, but closer to his retirement date, which is June 1st of 2023. He may insist on 2019, but, okay, so let's get started on the agenda. The first thing on the agenda is a reading of the meeting minutes of April 16th of both the public and executive session. Are there any changes or corrections to the meeting minutes?
Mr. Chair, I'm on item 4, page 4, hearing schedule. There's a motion made for the settlement agreement, but there's no vote documented. Page 4, item 4, last bullet.
Okay,
I'm just wondering if there should be a vote recorded in the minutes.
yes, I'll correct it.
Okay, thank you. I would therefore propose that the, do you have another one?
No, I'm
Oh,
gonna
I
second.
propose that the minutes be adopted as corrected.
And I second.
is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. Consent agenda, is there anything on?
Commissioners, when you get on the consent agenda, we would like to request that item number 4 on the consent agenda be tabled until the next meeting. That's in the application of Freepoint Energy Solutions. We ask that that be put off until the next meeting.
Is there any objection, commissioners?
No objection.
Hearing none, that's tabled.
Thank you.
It's my understanding also that number 1 on the regular agenda should be tabled as well,
It's also
correct?
being tabled, yes.
Okay,
Item number 1 on the regular agenda.
and that's due to the fact that we don't have all the parties here.
Essentially, yes. Ms. Iori would like to be here for that.
Yes, okay, and we would like to be, her to be here as well. Okay, as to the consent agenda, any motion?
Move that we adopt the consent agenda as amended.
I seconded.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. On the regular agenda, number one, as we've mentioned, is going to be placed on the table to come up probably the next meeting. Number two is in the matter of the application of Chesapeake Utilities Corporation for approval of the issuance of company stock and long-term debt. And here seeking money is Mr. O'Brien. Welcome, Mr. O'Brien.
Thank you, Chairman Winslow, Commissioners. Bill O'Brien on behalf of Chesapeake Utilities Corporation. This order simply allows for an extension of the 30-day statutory period required for commission review of a debt or stock financing application by a public utility. And so we don't have any objection to the extension, and so we do ask you to approve proposed order 9387.
Mr. Willard?
Yeah, Your Honor, that's correct. The staff has asked for some more time to review this, and we ask that you approve order number 9387.
With appreciation to Chesapeake Utilities.
Yes, thank you.
Is there a motion?
Move that we adopt order number 9387.
I second.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed, any abstentions? The motion carries. Thanks, Mr. O'Brien.
Thank you.
Hearing schedule in the matter of application of Delmarva Power and Light Company for approval of the 2019 program for the procurement of solar renewable energy credits. And we have, I guess we have all the interested parties present. And Ms. Orr, are you going to kick this off?
Yes, thank you, Chair Winslow and Commissioners. Lindsay Orr on behalf of Delmarva Power, and with me is Glenn Moore. We are here today in connection with the 2019 SREC Procurement Program application, which was filed by Delmarva Power based upon the recommendations developed and approved by the Renewable Energy Task Force. The application included a program outline for the 2019 procurement program, a form of the SREC transfer agreement showing proposed changes from the 2018 agreement, and Delmarva's supplemental report in support of the program, addressing the specific changes made to the program from 2018 to 2019 based upon recommendations from the Renewable Energy Task Force. Notice of the filing of the application was published in the Delaware State News and the News Journal on March 25th, 2019. Affidavits of publication were provided to the PSC on March 26th and April 1st, 2019. I have with me copies of an exhibit log containing the pre-filed exhibits for this docket that was previously circulated amongst the parties. I don't know if the commission has already received copies of that, but I can distribute them if not.
We got them.
Yeah.
You do? Okay.
Please,
I'm not sure I have them, Chair.
please, just distribute them, please, if you would.
Thank you very much.
We got this. Well,
Okay.
the parties have all agreed to the admission of all these documents, correct?
That is my understanding.
Without objection, all those
That's right.
exhibits are entered.
Thank you. At this time, I would like to call Glenn Moore as the witness on behalf of Delmarva Power and ask that he be sworn.
You swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your full name for the record.
Glenn A. Moore,
By whom are you employed?
Delmarva Power.
What do you do for Delmarva Power?
I'm the Regional Vice President for Delmarva Power.
And what does that entail?
I'm responsible for all external affairs operations within Delmarva, both Delaware and Maryland, making sure the communities, from the resident, the communities, local, state agencies have a voice inside the company and communicate to the company. I'm also responsible for all philanthropic giving for the company as well.
How long have you been with the company?
34 wonderful years.
As part of your duties and responsibilities, do you serve as Delmarva Power's representative to the Renewable Energy Task Force?
Yes, I have since the beginning.
What is the purpose of the Renewable Energy Task Force?
One of the main purposes of the task force over the last 7 years is to make recommendations on the SREC procurement program, which we have before us today.
Did you participate as Delmarva's representative in the meetings and discussions that took place through the task force to develop the 2019 SREC procurement program?
Yes, I did.
Was a vote taken by the task force in connection with the application?
Yes, it was.
Was the vote unanimous?
Yeah, the 11 diverse members of the committee, including staff, the advocate, Delmarva, and others, voted unanimously.
Before we discuss the specifics of the 2019 program, can you give us a report as to the outcome of the 2018 auction?
So we had another robust auction in 2018. All the tiers except for really one were oversubscribed. In addition, Delmarva procured over 3,000 RECs out of Pool 5, which is the pool that allows us to get the cheapest RECs available left in the auction. The average price of the solicitation, we bought a little over 18,200 RECs at an average price of $28.50.
When did Delmarva file this application?
February 13th of 19, and I'd like to thank everyone for the accelerated process of which it got to this date.
Can you describe what has changed between the 2018 SREC procurement program and the 2019 program based upon the recommendations of the task force?
Sure. So every year we have the auction, and then within a month or two after the auction, the process starts up again. We find all learnings from the auction, any changes, mitigations that we would want to make. There were 4 changes made, primarily all relatively small. We have tiers in these programs, which are different size solar installations. We reduced the tier structure from 9 tiers down to 5 tiers. We moved all the existing customers that have solar, not new customers, into one tier, tier 5. They have been spread out across the tiers, and we made the decision to make them all in the tier 5. Delmarva has a unique ability given to it by the task force and the commission to reject any bids for price. And if we do reject a bid for price in one tier, those RECs cannot be transferred to backfill another tier, so we made that part of the system. We've also included in tiers 1, 3, and 4 that they be in-state generation only, and we created a tier 5, which is out of state and all those existing facilities that I mentioned a minute ago. Last and not least, we were asked to consider and talk about community solar. So the community solar projects certainly can bid into the auction, and they bid into the auction by size of that community solar project. So if they're very small, they would bid into the small tier. If they're very large, they bid into the large tier, and anywhere in between depending on the size of the community solar project.
How many SRECs will Delmarva acquire through the auction?
So Delmarva will do the same. It's done over the last 2 or 3 years. We will buy a minimum of, given price is appropriate, of 15,000 RECs through the tiering process, which I talked about. And then several years ago, we added the capability that Delmarva could buy an additional 5,000 RECs at the cheapest price of any REC that's sitting on the table. So if there are RECs that have been not bought already because they're a slightly higher price, but those prices are good prices, we can buy up to an additional 5,000. So the total amount of RECs we can buy through the process is 20,000 RECs.
And from what tiers can Delmarva acquire those SRECs?
So the first thing we do is we split the 10,000 RECs, which was the original. Those are tiers 1, 2, and 3. There's 4,400 in tier 1, 2,300 in tier 2, and 3,300 in tier 3. After that, there's an additional 5,000 RECs out of our tier 4, and then again the 5,000 additional, which come from any tier that's left that the price is adequate for Delmarva to buy.
Otherwise, are the provisions of the program remaining the same?
Yes, we still use SEU to administer the program. They're still 20-year contracts. They bid in the first 10 years they bid in a 20-year price. The first 10-year price is the price they give us. The last 10-year price is the lower of the price they bid, or $20. So if they bid in $25 and win, they get $25 for the first 10. Then that price reduces to $20 in the last 10 years. We've slowly reduced that price over time. If you bid in $9, you get $9 for all 20 years. You don't go up to $20 in the last 10 years.
Were any comments filed in response to this application?
Not that I'm aware of.
Did you have any other comments that you would like to offer in connection with the application?
I've made these comments for the last 4 or 5 years. I think this process is one of the best processes I've seen in the state and the company I've been with. It is a collaborative process. It certainly has had some bumps along the road with different parties, as you can imagine, pushing different things. But the fact that I think we've had unanimous votes in the last 2 or 3 years it is a tremendous accomplishment considering the diversity of the group. And I thank the group as well as DENREC for kind of, being the head of the group. The process has worked tremendously well. I've said in the past, the price of SRECs in the state, I just said $28. They're well over $100 and $150 in other jurisdictions that border us. So a tremendous program for solar to be in the state, and the price is relatively reasonable for the customers of Delmarva.
Thank you. Mr. Moore is available for cross-examination.
No questions.
Mr. Slade,
No questions.
No questions.
who wants to go next? Okay, no volunteers.
Okay.
Mr. Tweedy, you go next.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. Jameson Tweedy for the Department of Justice in DENREC. With me is Tom Noyce of DENREC, and I would ask that he be sworn.
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Can you please state your name and place of work for the record?
I'm Tom Noyes. I work for the DENREC Division of Climate, Coastal, and Energy. We're still getting used to the new name, excuse me. We're located at 100 West Water Street in Dover.
And what do you do at the Division of Climate, Coastal, and Energy?
I'm the staff lead for renewable energy policy for the division.
What is the purpose of your testimony here today?
In my brief testimony, I will describe the role of the Renewable Energy Task Force in developing the SREC procurement program and summarize DENREC's reason for supporting the proposal.
Can you please describe the role of the Renewable Energy Task Force in developing the 2019 SREC program?
The Renewable Energy Task Force was established by the Renewable Energy Portfolio Standards Act, which requires retail electric suppliers operating in Delaware to purchase energy from eligible energy resources to meet a portion of their retail load. The task force met 4 times after the 2018 SREC auction to review the results and design the next procurement. The task force worked from a straw man proposal or model using the previous procurement as a starting point, so members could consider all of the moving parts as a whole before the proposal was put to a final vote. The result of this collaborative effort was unanimous approval of the 2019 program, with all members present voting to support. On behalf of DENREC, I want to thank all of the members for working collaboratively to get us to a positive outcome.
What requirements of REPSA did the task force consider? Renewable Energy Portfolio Standards Act.
The SREC plan is based on the statutory charge to the task force, which is found in Section 360, which includes creating balanced market mechanisms, minimizing costs, establishing revenue certainty, maximizing in-state renewable generation, and ensuring that residential, commercial, and utility scale solar PV systems of various sizes are financially viable. The balanced portfolio approach we have adopted over the last several years has promoted remarkable market stability and the steady growth of solar power in Delaware. Solar PV has grown in Delaware from 8.6 megawatts at the end of 2010 to more than 111 megawatts today, and this is according to PSC certification records. More than half of the installed capacity represents small and medium-sized systems. We have accomplished this while SREC prices have declined significantly since we started these procurements, and as Mr. Moore pointed out, our SREC prices are lower than our neighboring states.
Could you please summarize your testimony for the commission?
The task force has crafted a procurement that builds on the experience of the last 6 years, supports a stable market for system sizes, for systems of all sizes, simplified the auction structure, which I'm always pleased to see in government, and provides flexibility to Delmarva Power to get the best value for its customers. DENREC recommends approval of the 2019 SREC program as consistent with REPSA and in the public interest.
Does that conclude your testimony?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Noyce is available.
Any questions of Mr. Noyes?
No questions.
No questions.
Mr. Willard?
Yes, Your Honor, the staff has worked very hard on this as well, and we asked for the testimony of Shona Marshall. And she can be sworn in.
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Could you state your name and business address for the record?
My name is Shauna Marshall. My business address is 861 Silver Lake Boulevard, the Cannon Building, Suite 100, Dover, Delaware, 19904.
And what is your employer currently, and what's your position there?
I am employed by the Delaware PSC, and I am a public utilities analyst.
As part of your duties and responsibilities, are you familiar with the documents in docket number 19-0080 that we're here about today?
Yes, I reviewed the documents for the 2019 SREC procurement program.
And could you briefly describe the background of this docket?
The docket is a continuation of the 2012 pilot program, as well as the procurement programs for the years 2013 through 2018, which have been previously approved by the Commission. They are based on the recommendations by the Renewable Energy Task Force, and Delmarva proposes to procure up to a maximum of 20,000 SRECs. This is a requirement of the Delaware Renewable Energy Portfolio Standards Act, whereas Delmarva is responsible to procure up to 2% of their retail sales as solar renewable energy credits.
Please describe the nature of your review of the proposed procurement program.
Yes, I reviewed the changes from the previous year's procurement programs as well as the documents for this year's program.
And did the task force approve the 2019 SREC procurement program proposed by Delmarva and under consideration here?
Yes, it was approved unanimously on December 6, 2018.
Can you identify the distinctions between the 2019 program and provide a brief summary of those changes?
Yes, as described by Mr. Moore, the SREC tier program has been simplified for the 2019 procurement year. It has went from 9 tiers to 5 tiers for this year. They are proposing to procure 10,000 from the first 3 tiers and an additional 5,000 from tier 4, and then up to a maximum of 5,000 from any tiers between 1 and 5. They will also be able to reject bids on the basis of price, and they will not be used to fulfill any shortfalls in any of the other tiers. And community solar projects will be able to bid in the tier that is appropriate for their size.
Was public notice properly posted, and did you receive any public comments?
Yes, it was posted on March 26, 2019 in the Delaware News Journal and the Delaware State News. And no, I did not receive any public comments.
Do you recommend approval of the 2019 procurement application?
Yes, and I just want to note that if the program is not approved, Delmarva would still be required to procure these SRECs through the spot market.
We have no further questions. Ms. Marshall is available for cross-examination.
Does anyone have any questions of Ms. Marshall?
No questions.
No
Mr.
questions.
Slater, your turn.
Thank you. So I don't have a witness in this case, but I do have one correction. The SREC auction was not approved unanimously. We actually abstained, I think, subject to check. The abstention had more to do with seeing what was written before we had approved it. With that said, we support moving forward with the SREC auction. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Slater. Commissioners, do you have any questions? It's really very, very comforting and pleasing to hear that the collaboration is continuing as well as it has And so, Mike, congratulations to all the parties who worked diligently to get to this point. So thank you very much. We have a motion to approve 9380, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Any abstention? The motion carries. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Number 2 on the regular agenda is the matter of the application of Chesapeake Utilities Corporation. That's not number 2 at all. Number 2 is on the back side here. In the matter of the application of Chesapeake Utilities Corporation for approval of a change in its gas sales service rates, the GSR. Mr. O'Brien, welcome again.
Thank you, Chairman Winslow and Commissioners. Bill O'Brien on behalf of Chesapeake Utilities Corporation. So today we have the evidentiary hearing for Chesapeake Utilities' annual adjustment to its gas sales service rate, or GSR. I have with me here today Marie Kozel, the company witness. She's a regulatory analyst 3. Just as a preliminary matter, we do have an agreement reached by the parties in the case, which is staff, the public advocate, and the company, and we will be presenting that today. The terms of the agreement are reflected in the proposed order, which is order number 9381, which you have before you. Just very briefly, the agreement between the parties is that the company will continue to carry forward certain terms of earlier agreements in prior year GSR proceedings. The parties have agreed to the proposed GSR rates as filed, and the parties have agreed to the proposed balancing charges for our transportation customers as filed just until the end of May. We actually agreed to new balancing charges to be instituted June 1st and to be in effect until the end of the rate effective period, which is October 31st, 2019. The parties have also stipulated to the admission of 6 exhibits. And I'll go ahead and go through those. Exhibit number 1, if the chairman agrees to the stipulation, Exhibit 1 would be the affidavits of publication of notice for today's hearing, which were published in the News Journal on April 9th and the Delaware State News on April 10th. Exhibit 1 includes the affidavits of publication for the notice of the application itself and the deadline to intervene. And those were published in the same 2 newspapers on October 8th, 2018. Exhibit number 2 is the application itself for the change in the gas sales service rates. That application included the certificate of service, draft public notice, and proposed tariff sheets. Exhibit 3 would be the direct pre-filed testimony of Marie Kozel with 10 schedules dated August 31st, 2018. Exhibit 4 would be the direct testimony of William R. Criss, another company witness, dated August 31st, 2018. Exhibit 5 from staff would be the direct testimony of Connie S. McDowell, dated February 27th, 2019. And then for staff and the public advocate, the direct testimony of Jerome D. Mierzwa, dated February 27th, 2019. And as I've said, the parties have agreed to stipulation of those exhibits into the admission of the record for today's proceeding.
Those 6 exhibits are admitted without objection.
Thank you. The company will call its first and only witness and ask that she be sworn. Marie Kozel.
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do.
How is your last name spelled? It's not like Howard Cosell, right?
It is not. It's a little different. My last name is spelled K-O-Z as in zebra, E-L.
I just want to make sure that she has it.
And can you pronounce that one more time, make sure I'm saying it right?
Marie Kozel.
Kozel, yes. Thank you. All right, can you please state your address and position with the company?
My business address is 500 Energy Lane, Suite 100, Dover, Delaware, 19904. I'm a regulatory analyst 3 with Chesapeake Utilities Corporation.
And what has been your assignment in this docket?
My assignment in this docket was to present and discuss the calculation of Chesapeake's proposed gas sales service rate to be effective for service on and after November 1st, 2018.
In connection with that assignment, did you prepare and file an application for approval to implement a new rate under the company's GSR tariff provisions?
Yes, I did.
And have you also prepared pre-filed testimony dated August 31st, 2018, consisting of 33 pages of testimony together with 12 schedules?
Yes, I did.
And other than what we will discuss later in your testimony regarding the agreement reached by the parties in this case, do you have any changes or corrections that you would like to make to your direct testimony?
No, I do not.
Is the information set forth in the application, the schedules to the application, and your pre-filed testimony true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
And if I were to ask you today the questions set forth in your pre-filed testimony, would your answers be the same?
Yes.
All right, I note for the record that your testimony has already been admitted into the proceeding as exhibit number 3. Can you tell us what impact the proposed GSR rates would have on a typical residential customer?
Compared to the rates currently in effect, an average residential sales customer to residential RS2 residential customer using 700 CCF per year will experience an annual decrease of approximately 11.79% or $11.08 per month. During the winter heating season, a typical RS2 customer using 120 CCF per winter month will experience a decrease of approximately 13.27% or $22.80 per winter month.
Have you reviewed the direct testimony of Jerome D. Mears, dated February 27th, 2019, submitted on behalf of Commission staff and the Division of Public Advocate?
Yes.
And based on that testimony, and based on subsequent discussions with staff and the Division of Public Advocate, did the company calculate new rates for its balancing service for its transportation customers?
Yes, it has.
Can you please summarize those changes?
The company's revised calculation of balancing rates allocates a portion of all of the transportation and storage assets used to balance transportation customers' usage on a peak demand day or a design day to the balancing rates charged to the transportation customers. The portion of such cost allocated will be based on the transportation customer's proportion of the load on a design day. The new cost allocation results in an increase in costs assigned to the balancing rates of $356,924 and yields the following balancing rates. For the rate schedule GS, EGS, or USAG, which is our general sales service rates, the original proposed balancing rate was 0.133 per CCF and is now 0.159 per CCF. For MVS, EMVS, USAM, which is medium volume sales service, the originally proposed rate was 0.158 per CCF and is now 0.189 per CCF. Large volume was 0.107 per CCF, is now 0.127 per CCF. High load factor sales were 0.010 per CCF and is now 0.012 per CCF. And for our interruptible, it was 0.001 and remains at 0.001 per CCF.
And are those new rates accurately reflected in proposed order number 9381?
Yes, they are.
And in your opinion, are those just and reasonable rates for our transportation customers? And if they are adopted by the commission, would they be in the public interest?
Yes, they are.
And with the increased balancing charges, have the parties agreed what the company will do with the additional revenues collected?
Yes, the company will reflect the additional revenues in its over-under collection balance until the company's next GSR application.
Thank you. Ms. Kozel is available for cross-examination.
No questions.
No questions.
Thank you, Mr. O'Brien. Well done, Ms. Kozel. Mr. Willard.
Yes, Your Honor, the staff has worked very hard on this as well, and we'd like to call Connie McDowell as a witness.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Could you please state your name and business address for the record?
Yes, Connie S. McDowell, and I'm employed by the Delaware Public Service Commission, and my address is 861 Silver Lake Boulevard, Suite 100, Dover, Delaware.
And what is your position with the commission, and how long have you been employed?
I'm the Senior Regulatory Policy Administrator, and I've been employed by the Commission for over 28 years.
Can you describe your role in this proceeding, please?
Yes, I am the case manager in this proceeding.
And in that role, have you prepared direct testimony?
Yes, I have.
Did you have any changes or corrections to that testimony?
No, I do not.
And could you please summarize your direct testimony?
Yes. On August 31st, 2018, Chesapeake Utilities Corporation filed an application with the Commission seeking approval to change its gas sales service rates effective for usage on or after November 1st, 2018. I've reviewed the schedules and calculations contained in the application for accuracy and conformance with the company's existing tariff, and I verified the mathematical accuracy of those schedules and determined that they did conform with the company's existing tariff. I've also reviewed Chesapeake's responses to data requests, prior GCR or GSR dockets, orders, settlement agreements, quarterly hedging reports, and long-term supply and demand strategic plans for the last 5 years.
And are you adopting the direct testimony of Jerome Merswa, the PSC staff and DPA consultant in this proceeding?
Yes, I am.
And could you please summarize Mr. Merswa's testimony?
Yes. Mr. Merswa reviewed the application and he evaluated the reasonableness of the company's gas procurement practices and policies.
And do you and Mr. Merswa have a recommendation in this proceeding?
Yes, we do. Staff recommends that the Commission approve the company's request to change its GSR rates as filed in their application to increase the rates charged to its firm transportation customers for released ES&G capacity and charges for balancing service for transportation customers as of June 1st, 2019. The additional revenues collected from the transportation customers should be reflected in the GSR over/under collection until their next filing. And the company continues to comply with the 4 items from prior settlement agreements.
And have these recommendations been agreed to by all the parties?
Yes, they have.
And do you believe these recommendations are in the public interest and that the proposed rates are just and reasonable?
Yes, I do, and therefore I'm asking that the Commission approve and sign PSC Order 9381.
Do you have anything else to add for this proceeding?
No, I do not.
All right, Ms. McDowell is available for cross-examination.
No questions.
No questions.
Thank you, Mr. Willard. Well done, Ms. McDowell. Mr. Slater?
Thank you. As you heard from Ms. McDowell, we shared Mr. Merswa, and we came to a settlement agreement with the company, and so we support the proposed order 9381. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Slater. Commissioners, do you have any questions?
No questions. I'll move, Mr. Chair.
Excuse me, Commissioner.
I'm sorry.
Okay, before you move on the order, can I get a 2-minute recess? I need to confer with to confer with the councils about the order itself. I just need 2 minutes to pull them out so that before you vote on it.
Sure.
Thank you. Councils, can I
In place recess.
Thank you. 2 minutes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Thank you, Chairman and Commissioners. I just want to explain a little further the structure of the settlement, being one that was made verbally between the parties, and the terms are reflected in the order itself, but we thought it streamlined the process and the paperwork involved if we didn't have a separate written settlement agreement that said exactly what the order said. So the parties reached the settlement agreement, but just did not memorialize it in a separate document, but presented it today as evidence from the stand and from the lawyers.
So the agreement is as stated on the record by the witnesses and is not as set forth in the order because there's differences between the two.
I'm hoping there are not any differences, Chairman.
Point of a question, Mr. Chair and Executive Director. So the way I look at it, what I think I heard you say is that the agreement is embodied within the order. But the commissioners are signing the order. So.
That's correct. The agreement itself was explained to you from the stand, and if you adopt the order, you're adopting the terms that were just described from the stand.
All right, can we ask the other parties to affirm that statement?
That is correct.
The statement is so affirmed.
The reason I made my comment is that I believe that a couple of commissioners thought there was a discrepancy between what was stated on the record orally and was actually contained in the order. So I'm going to ask that Commissioner Drexler and Commissioner Conaway ask some questions about those areas so we can resolve that.
Well, the one, can you please confirm, Ms. Kozar, the rate schedule numbers that you presented in the second table? Specifically, the last one, the ITS, the .011 per CCF, and that proposed rate is .001. And I think that in the record, that you may have mentioned no change, and there's a decrease. So we just want to confirm that.
From the current, from this.
Do you understand what
to
she's
this.
asking? Yeah.
From this to this.
Yeah.
Right, this is not the agreement.
Right.
Right.
This was what was.
All right, good, go ahead.
Yes. Yes, there is a decrease,
Okay,
correct.
perfect. And then, did
Okay.
you have another? Okay. I think that was the one, right? Okay.
Yeah, if I could further explain, in paragraph 1, those were the originally proposed rates, the existing rates and the originally proposed changes. In paragraph 19 were the rates that were agreed upon by the parties in the settlement.
Okay.
And those, and it's all accurate.
Okay, I was reading them. Correct. I
Page one, yeah.
caught that after I read it.
And although you indicate it has decreased, would you state the numeric value, just for the record?
The new proposed rate is .001
Thank
per
you.
CCF.
Any further questions?
I'm ready to propose that the commission adopt order number 9381 as submitted.
Second the motion?
Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Chairman. And I do want to thank staff and the DPA for their thoughtful testimony in this case and for working with us to get to a satisfactory agreement.
Thank you, Mr. O'Brien.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have public comment at this time. Is Mr. Noya still with us? So I guess Denmark has nothing to convey to us. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to make any comment to us? Mr. Brewer? Your turn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There is an evidentiary hearing on May 15th here in this building in PSC docket number 18-1194. Richard Spinks doing business as Gigglebugs LLC. It's a complaint docket at 1 o'clock here on May 15th. The next commission meeting is going to be on May 21st, 2019. And some of the staff members are attending the PJM annual meeting today through Friday, tomorrow. There is an executive session. It's going to probably be very short, and I think we might not come back and do live stream again because we'll just be closing the meeting after we come out of executive session. So at this point, I'm asking for executive session.
Dr. Barreau, who will be attending the PJM meeting?
I believe it's Matt Hardigan, Pam Knotts, Demi, and Malika. It's four staff members, and I believe Chairman, you're attending also. She pointed at you.
Yeah.
Mm.
And Lori.
Lori Murphy-Lee is here present, so we thank PJM and Lori for her presence today, but she will not be attending the PJM annual meeting. However, I will be. I'm looking forward to the meeting. And the purpose of going into the executive session is what?
The purpose of going into the executive session meeting is the artificial island rate case that was decided by FERC. We want to give you an update on the next steps that are happening in the court system.
So it's a litigation exemption from the statute for purposes of litigation advice. And I see our counsel shaking her head yes, which means we're okay. And we do appreciate Patty's filling in today, so thank you so much for your help. I know you haven't had to give us much help, but just being here is comforting.
I'm with you in spirit.
May we have a motion to go into executive
Yes.
session based upon
And
an
we would
exemption
request
before
the
you?
public advocate stay because he's a joint party in that. That sounds like a very logical and good thing to have Mr. Slater present.
We have to read this, right? Move the commission convene an executive session under 29 Del C 10,004 B4 for purposes of discussing legal strategy or receiving legal advice, update of a privileged or confidential nature.
Seconded.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. We will now go into executive session. We will not have any votes on any issues. We will merely discuss that which is privileged. And we will come back into session again after our executive session. And for those of you who are on the internet watching this, streaming this activity, we are going to cut you off at this point in time and save you the time of just watching us adjourn when we come out of executive session.